Hi guys, follow me on Instagram to never ever miss any of my crazy updates. Hi guys and welcome to another vlog. I'm riding this. This is the third generation of the Suzuki Hayabusa and it looks like the second generation. In fact, the design has evolved from the older model, but a lot has changed. We get all LED lights, indicator placed here. Lights are actually quite bright. We have a projector set up as well. Suzuki written right there, and the design is very much aerodynamic. It pulls air in from here in order to cool the engine of this absolutely beastly motorcycle. The fairing is also quite aerodynamic, and from the side it is undoubtedly a Hayabusa silhouette. In fact, the first generation and the second generation and the third generation all have the same design language, kind of evolved, becomes smoother and sharper and things like that. Now you see, this is the kanji, which is actually a Japanese symbol which translates to strong and fast. You can just call it the Hayabusa in Japanese language. We have got chrome here. This is actually in the light as well. Can you see that? Yeah, it's there in the light as well, and it says multiple LED. Meanwhile, they have also put it here, and when you turn on the instrument cluster, it shows right there as well. Says Suzuki here on this 20-liter tank, but you know what? The clip-on bars are placed a little towards the rider by some centimeters. That results in slightly better riding posture, but no, the riding posture is absolutely garbage. Sorry about that, but for a tall rider like me, this bike's 800mm seat height is just not adequate enough. Jokes aside, you see, the paint finishing is really awesome on this bike. The engine is actually hidden because of the massive fairing, and you've got chrome here, exposed screws as well. Nice to, lock your knees as such. Slim exhaust. Meanwhile, there are two of them, one on either side. The lights are completely revised. Again, all LED lights look really very nice. Indicators are on at the moment because you've got hazard lights, of course. Meanwhile, the tires are actually looking small because the Busa's body is so big. Now, this is a 190 section tire, 190/50/17. There is the rear disc. In fact, the disc size is also slightly bigger now. At the front, we get a 120 section tire, 120/70/17. See the attention to detail. It even says ABS, which is kind of unnecessary. The number plate holder is kind of badly done as such. Doesn't look nice. And of course, you've got 43mm upside down forks as well. The rear gets a monoshock, which is very much hidden somewhere. Can you see that? Suzuki written here. What do you think about the design of this motorcycle? I think it looks absolutely stunning. Really nice, especially this dual tone treatment with this sort of a copper treatment. Seat is quite nice and comfortable. This is a cowl which costs rupees 28,000 and is of course optional. Suzuki stickering here kind of seems out of place, which is the best angle for this motorcycle to look at. I think from every angle you look at it, it looks absolutely gorgeous. You get a sari guard. The sari guard and the number plate holder means 2 kgs of additional weight on this particular motorcycle. It says only put high octane fuel. Meanwhile, the clip-on bars kind of seem aggressive because they are. The levers are obviously adjustable. You can adjust both of them, and this is to start the motorcycle. That familiar instrument cluster, the 5-pod unit, is there on the new Hayabusa as well. We've got a fuel meter right there, a tachometer, a speedometer and a temperature meter, and everything is analog other than the fact that there is a multi-information display, a TFT screen in the center, which has got plenty of information because this motorcycle is loaded with so many rider aids. To browse through that, you press this button, mode button. That is basically the rider modes. Okay, traction control has 10 freaking settings. That is 10 settings for the traction control. And I can actually browse through a lot of information like odometer. It's got trip meter, which tells you what is the fuel efficiency, saying 11.6 kilometers per liter, riding time, what is the overall kilometers you have done, and they have got twin trip meters giving you all the information, battery voltage, real-time mileage, distance to empty. Meanwhile, here you see these are actually the riding modes which I'm changing. So there are 3 riding modes and 3 customizable ones as well, so you can customize the way you want. And then there is engine brake control, which again has 3 freaking settings. So a lot of information on offer for sure, and telltale lights are placed all over. There's a shift light which is actually programmable as well. Yeah, the cluster looks really nice. Thank God they did not go all digital on it and ruin it. Meanwhile, these mirrors are easy to adjust, easy to adjust, but they don't give you a good view of what's around because they are a little bit on the smaller side. Not little bit, they are plenty on the smaller side. So in terms of design, I think Suzuki has nailed it by keeping the iconic design. And here, of course, is the cruise control button. This is the hazard light button. I'm going to turn it off right now because the hazard light is on. And we are going to turn on the motorcycle. There it rose to life. You do not have to press the clutch to turn on this motorcycle. No. And you know what? In order to increase or decrease the speed with the cruise control, this is the switch. This is for the indicator and the horn. It's actually loud enough. This is to change the light mode, of course. And there you see, the projector is actually quite bright. Let's do one thing. Let's rev the motor. So first and foremost, me standing here is not going to help because I have to reach out for the throttle. Here we go. Yeah, that sound is nice. Smooth inline 4. Let's start riding right away. Alright, we are all set to go, which means turning on the motorcycle. See this full swipe up which happens with the kanji there as well. Says it needs service right now. We're just going to change the riding modes. So I'm going to quickly come to the riding modes and slot it into A, which is of course the most aggressive. Turning on the motorcycle, it rose to life and off we go. First and foremost, I'm going to show you how easy this bike is to ride. Actually not, you can feel the weight. This one weighs 266 kgs, and when I took the bike for the first time today to ride, I was like shocked. I was like, oh my god, this is so heavy and uncomfortable, because the riding position is such that it's kind of sporty and committed as well. So not the most comfortable. However, it is very spacious. In fact, someone of my size can fit in right behind me even with the cowl present. So that's again good for the spaciousness, but for someone of my height, you are going to feel a little cumbersome after a short, after a long ride for sure. Around the corners, this Busa is surprisingly agile, like very shockingly agile. It has good amount of grip and doesn't hesitate at all, which is quite surprising. I was very shocked as such. And then there's so many electronic aids on this motorcycle, including, yeah, it has got a hill hold function as well, bi-directional quick shifter, IMU based systems and whatnot. Ground clearance is sort of an issue, so you need to slow down for speed breakers, but the throttle response is very smooth and very nice. This is a 1340cc motor which produces 190 horsepower, and the result you can already see. We are already in the most bonkers riding mode, wherein you get the full bounty power, and engine brake control is off, traction control is at 1, which is next to being turned off, which means that we've got 190 horsepower and 150 newton meters of torque. Now the thing here is, what is different actually is that power has actually come down from before. So 7 horsepower lesser, but they have made a lot of changes to the engine. So for the most part, the engine is the same in terms of displacement, but everything on the internal front has been changed, has been revised, and the result you can already see is absolutely rocket ship in terms of performance. It really blasts ahead. But the beauty of this Busa is that they have actually compromised on the top end punch. The earlier bike had stupendous top end, not really close to what super sports offer, but this one has a magical mid-range punch as well as a good low end. So no matter what the gear you're riding in, here I'm just going to come into 6th gear to prove my point. You're in 6th gear, no matter which gear you're riding in, as soon as you get into the throttle, here you see immediately it pulls ahead and has a lot of enthusiasm to push forward to crazy speeds. In fact, top speed is again limited to 299 kilometers per hour, but the Busa is certainly decently agile for its size. It's very big, 266 kgs, really long, but super duper amazing in terms of performance. There is of course wind blast, unless and until you duck down completely like this, and when you do that, obviously wind blast curtails to quite an extent. Now there are 6 riding modes, which I already told you. 3 can be customized with the traction control and the engine brake control and all that stuff. It's got wheelie control as well, 3 level launch control, which we will try in a bit. But most importantly, C actually cuts, riding mode C actually cuts power by around 20 to 25%, and right now we are in riding mode A, which is full power. Riding mode B actually cuts the throttle response slightly. Now we are going to turn on launch control, which means I keep this button pressed. There it says LC. There are 3 modes depending on how aggressive you want to launch it. We'll go for the most aggressive one. As it lights off, revving the motor, rev still almost 8,500 RPM, and off we go. My goodness, the launch is absolutely crazy from this beast. First gear, 140 almost, 11,000 plus RPM, and its second gear, it absolutely catapults ahead. Now the launch could have been more aggressive. I could not launch so aggressively because I fogged up my own visor, breathing so heavily on the inside. So we're going to try that once again, the launch control mode of this Suzuki Hayabusa. And off we go. Oh my goodness, in no time at all, this bike absolutely flies. The acceleration is just crazy, but my hips are feeling the pinch, because honestly, to launch at that RPM you need balls of steel. It launches very aggressively. Maybe tone down the launch control mode next time. I'm not giving it the full bananas. because I'm so scared. Although anti-wheelie control is there, this bike doesn't have a tendency to wheelie as much as other super sport motorcycles because it has been designed in a way to offer good touring ability, and that's the reason why the ride quality is also fantastic. Yeah, the ride is very nice and plush. The suspension is on the soft side. That's the reason why when you're trying to corner hard now, you can feel a bit of that softness, but for the most part that only happens if you're going to the track or cornering really aggressively. It only disappoints if you try to ride it like a super sport motorcycle, which it is not. It's more of a grand tourer. And then again, in terms of grand touring, it has the market covered because there is no other rival. The ZX14R is Tata bye-bye. Making a quick overtake, no problem at all. Get into the throttle here, and it's so easy to flick between traffic because of the level of performance. The engine is super smooth, sounds really nice as well. And what I really love about this motorcycle is the way this engine responds at any freaking given RPM. Whatever the RPM, this bike is always ready to thrust ahead, and that is so freaking lovely. What performance, absolutely insane. Ride also pretty awesome. In fact, once you get used to it, you can ride it all day long. Only thing is when taking a U-turn now, you feel the pinch because your wrist actually touches the tank, and then you have to be really careful because you're like, okay, this is a heavy bike, I can't maneuver it at lower speeds. You have to be very careful at lower speeds because it feels very cumbersome to ride. But once you start riding now, then you realize that it's actually very easy and nimble and agile. The thing is, the handlebar is actually quite hard. And why is it hard? Because it has to be hard, and that makes a small problem while maneuvering at lower speeds. But if it was soft at high speeds, it would move around a bit, but it doesn't move around at all. The clutch is actually on the heavier side, and this gearbox is not the smoothest in terms of shifts, but that bi-directional quick shifter means that it's very easy to make shifts. Only thing is, I expected an even smoother gearbox, and there's some heating which can be felt right now. I can feel some heat coming out from the fairing, but it's not that much, and the bike becomes really loud because it has to cool itself. So the radiator is actually working overtime, and then you can easily go through traffic like this, no problem at all. Yeah, like this. Now braking performance is way improved from before, which is a good thing because the Busa always had the punch but somehow did not have the braking performance which you would have expected. That said, I love the way it is so freaking agile. Now obviously I don't have the guts to be launching this motorcycle on full banana, so here pussy mode, I'm going to reduce the launch control to 1, and here we go. Bananas, what a motorcycle! This is crazy! Wow, the acceleration is so insane! You know, no matter the speed, no matter the gear you get onto the throttle, this Busa leaps ahead like a freaking javelin. I know the javelin doesn't leap ahead, it has to be thrown, but the motor and the bike want to throw you ahead. If that times when you are going to overtake the motorcycle, that is the level of performance on offer. Absolutely insane, what a motorcycle! And then you don't even have to worry about bad bumps because it's able to take them in its stride without any effort whatsoever. What a brilliant freaking machine. However, compared to the old Busa, this one costs 3 lakh rupees more, and yeah, it's expensive to upkeep because the fuel efficiency is somewhere between 8 to 14 kilometers per liter depending on your riding style. And trust me on this, you are going to get single digit numbers for the most part. When considering the fuel price, you wouldn't really care about it if you bought a Busa though, but you have to keep going through tires because if you keep launching it aggressively, it's going to eat into tires very fast indeed. Everywhere you go, people see this motorcycle. That is the level of eye candy. Oh, I need to breathe. Alright, let's activate launch control, and there it is. Launch control active into first gear. You have to actually be into first gear to activate launch control, I believe. Absolutely flies this motorcycle. Now the price of this motorcycle is rupees 20.5 lakh rupees on road Mumbai, which might seem expensive. Here we are with the cruise control, of course. There it's set, and here I'm going to increase the speed using the cruise control. You can see that the speed of this motorcycle is increasing using cruise control. Now this is also a very handy feature if you want to go out grand touring, going from one city to another on the highways. You just want to relax, you can do that. There is obviously a lot of wind blast if you accelerate very hard. Otherwise, wind blast is decently well contained, and then you can just sit along
relax and cruise on this motorcycle without any issue whatsoever. That also is a very handy feature. But hey, this is Hayabusa, so forget the cruise control, turn it off using this button and get onto the throttle, ride yourself and enjoy this beast. So guys, this is my vlog of the Suzuki Hayabusa, the 2021 or the 2022 model, whatever you want to call it. It is the third generation. It is an absolute beast, sounds fantastic, really very nice in terms of engine performance and ride. However, the aggressive riding position doesn't make it the most apt motorcycle for our roads, or actually for people who are not into super sport riding. But this is more comfortable than a super sport motorcycle for sure. Not as agile, but definitely agile enough for the road, maybe not for the track. And when you want to make a quick overtake downshift here, it lunges ahead like absolute madness. That is the Suzuki Hayabusa for you. If you like this vlog, make sure to give it a thumbs up. That's the like button. And yeah, finally the shift light blinked. Or it might have, I never noticed. Check this out, okay? I have to do this. The way the launch happened now with the pop, 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 pop. My god, this is such an orgasm. Wow.
हमें 4-5 लाख रहेगा ऐसा लगा।
4-5 लाख है, 20 लाख का है बाइक और माइलेज इसका 8 है। आपको क्या लगा कितना रहेगा?
नहीं, मेरे को लगा 25 तक रहेगा ऐसा।
नहीं
मस्त भी दिखता है ना। मैं पहली बार देखा था उसको, देखा नहीं कभी पहले ऐसा गाड़ी, पर मेरे हिसाब से 5 तक रहेगा ऐसा।
अच्छा